Hey guys, this is Chris. Welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, I am a CPA who has recently started selling trading cards online, and this is the first of what I hope are many weekly updates showing the progress and process of that business. So, getting into the update, um, I was approved as a TCGplayer.com seller on July 13th. So, that was my first time I listed any trading cards online ever. Um, So this update is going to cover the first couple of weeks in my experiences or my experience with selling trading cards online with no previous experience. What I want to cover today are the goals for this channel, what I've done so far, recap my first 2 weeks, and go over the goals for the business. First off, the goals for the channel is I want to show a TCG business from the very beginning. I've seen a lot of channels that kind of started after they've been successful, after they um, had the processes down. Um, I wanted to show a little bit of a different side, show everything that goes on from the very beginning, including the mistakes that I've made and the things that have gone well, things that have gone wrong. And we will be covering some of those today. Um, I also want to go over the business side of buying and selling trading cards. Um, I don't know a lot about the process of buying and selling cards. Everything I know has come from articles and videos. So this is not going to be the channel to come to yet, at least, for things such as sourcing inventory, how to price your cards, the best shipping practices, so on and so forth. I do want to go over things like how do you record your cost of inventory? What things do you need to do to stay in compliance as far as things like estimated taxes? Do you need to know things about local business licenses? All the fun administrative things about running a business that kind of go under the radar if you've never run one yourself. Um, I want to show some of that and make sure you guys are aware of some of the pitfalls that I've seen with small businesses so that you don't fall into those, with the ultimate goal of making sure that you guys don't have any surprises at the end of the year, whether that's with any local regulations, tax law, um, anything like that. Want to make sure you guys have a good understanding of the administrative side so that all that back end work runs smoothly and you can get back to the business of buying and selling cards. So what I've done so far is I created my LLC. I got my local business licenses. I have my sales tax number so that I can buy wholesale if I decide to ever do so. Um, I created a TCG Player account and later a Mana Pool account. Um, TCG Player took me about 2 weeks to get through, and I've seen some comments recently about how they're not allowing new sellers. I can't verify that, if that's accurate or not. I do know it took a lot of persistence to get my account approved. I was averaging to contacting their support about twice a week, um, to get everything set up correctly. That ultimately got done over 14, 15 days is I think the total time it took me to get approved as a seller and start being able to list inventory online. Um, I followed PokePaster's recommendations to get started, and that included purchasing all the shipping supplies from his affiliate links. Um, I did make some adjustments that in some cases have worked really well, and some cases have not, as far as what I'm listing for my initial inventory. He does recommend listing cards that are $5 or more, primarily, until you reach level 4 on TCG Player, because it makes it easier to sell those cards because I cannot offer free shipping yet until I reach level 4. Um, Offering higher value cards makes it easier to sell because paying $1.30 on a $15 card is a lot more palatable than spending $1.30 in shipping for a 2-cent card. Um, the adjustment I made there was because I have a far greater collection of Yu-Gi-Oh cards than Pokemon or Magic the Gathering. I decided to try to work down my Pokemon and Magic the Gathering first, because those are largely going to be bulk, and I kind of just want to clear that inventory out first. My Yu-Gi-Oh cards are going to be higher value in general. Um, Not all, but just on average. And I want to wait to list those cards until I reach level 4 and can price my cards more competitively. Because right now I am going with the lowest price available on TCG Player, which makes the pricing more attractive, but is not great for making money. Um, so I want to hold some of those higher value cards back as much as I can. That hasn't necessarily worked out as well as I would like. Um, and I'll continue making adjustments as I go. I've also started moving my magic cards over to Mana Pool just as a test. It also allowed me to list more cards because for the longest time I was at level 1 for TCG Player and capped at 100 cards in inventory. So adding Mana Pool allowed me to list a lot more cards overall. Um, it's yet to be seen how that's going to work out. I'm going to keep using Mana Pool for my magic cards, except for a handful. Um, until I get a feel for which side is going to be better for me. Um, and we'll get into how that has helped me in some cases and really hurt me in one. Um, yeah, so if you want to find his affiliate links, the recommendations, the process I used, I will link those videos in hopefully on screen. If not, it'll be in the description. So, what happened in week 1 and 2? The volume was both lower and higher than I expected. Um, on the one hand, it was a bit surprising that anybody was buying cards from me, rather. At the same time, it felt like there should be more. So I'm going to assume that I was selling about the right volume. Um, sold a total of about 34 cards, 35, give or take, over the 2 weeks in 6 orders, I believe. Um, my net of fees and shipping for the 2 weeks was $12.63. I did pay some tuition. I had a large order, 29 cards of Pokemon cards, um, for a total of less than $5, I believe. Um, now, at the time, I was not aware of how to pack 30 cards into a single envelope. So I decided just to go with the bubble mailer, use Pirate Ship, get the tracking and everything. End up losing money on that sale. Um, but I'm considering it tuition because I learned, one, not to do that. Two, I got experience packing the higher volume of cards into a bubble mailer and how to use Pirate Ship to get the label printed, how to get the tracking done, all that fun stuff. Um, and in a sense, I am glad that that happened with a $5 order where if something went wrong, it's $5 versus a $50 order and having to learn how to do that with a higher value, uh, with a higher value card. Um, so that's definitely something that I need to work on. It it highlighted that I need to learn how to pack the orders with higher card counts but lower dollar value. Um, Part of that is I just don't trust our local post office to handle an envelope that heavy. Prefer to go with the bubble mailer so that I may still um, have a lower threshold for what it takes to get a bubble mailer than others. But I'll find that line as I go. Um, and like I said, listing everything that I had rather than just the high value cards, it did result in those cards moving. And so, like with that big order, where I think that was just um, a result of the cart optimizer saying, hey, the seller has a lot of these cards that you want, and you can just pay $1, whatever, for the shipping. Um, so cards didn't move. Lost a little bit of money, which it's not the worst thing in the world, especially if I'm trying to get to level 4. Kind of the frustrating thing with that though was it's 29 cards that moved, but it only counts as one order. Which to get to level 4 on TCG Player, I need 51 completed orders. So that was a bit annoying. That's like, okay, I sent out 29 cards, but that really only ups my uh, progress towards level 4 by a single order. This is a minor complaint. Yeah, but that's definitely one where I would consider that tuition that was paid definitely learned some stuff with that by doing that. Um, but again, much prefer it to happen with that sort of lower value cards than with a actual high value card. Um, like I said, instead of having to be in a rush to figure out how pirate ship works and everything, now I have an understanding of that process. My account is all set up. I know how to get things from TCG player to pirate ship. I know how to get the envelope, get the label printed, affixed, and it was a successful delivery, so that all worked out really well. Um, so now let's look at the actual numbers. So what I have here is all of the orders from my first 2 weeks. Um, this is a spreadsheet that I intend to use at least for the first while until I understand the underlying numbers of the business. And if this is something that you guys want to see, if any guys want to sign up for my bookkeeping service, this is the type of tools that I can build for you guys so that you can understand your business in a way that makes sense to you. This is the way it makes sense to me. But if you want to sign on, we can absolutely customize this in a way that makes sense to how your mind works, not just mine. But to give you guys a view of what the sheet is doing, I mean, you can tell this was built by an accountant, not any sort of designer. Um, this is just calculating my shipping costs. This is the window envelopes, stamps, top loaders, penny sleeves, team bags, bubble mailers, labels, and the return address stamp. This is all of the supplies that I use for just basic sending out 1 or 2 cards at a time. What I've done is I've added the date that I made each purchase, the total cost of the purchase, how many uses I'm going to get out of it, and that gives me a per unit cost. So for example, these 500 count of window envelopes cost me $31.31. 500 count gives me 6 cents per envelope, more or less. There's a little bit of rounding in there. Same thing for stamps. Same thing for top loaders. Penny sleeves I already have plenty of, so I did not need to purchase those. And that is feeding over into this spreadsheet over here, where I'm listing the date of the sale, the game, the source of the sale, gross revenue, the shipping revenue, the fees I was charged, and the shipping cost, which comes from taking these numbers over here. So it's 1 envelope multiplied by the unit cost of 6 cents, stamps 1 unit at 81 cents, so on and so forth. It's doing all the math. And the only thing I need to add on this sheet is this extra shipping for that large order that I was talking about. Everything else in here is automated. And for plain white envelopes, I'm getting a cost of $1.10, which is higher than what I've been seeing others come up with. So I relooked at the videos and the numbers, and I think the difference here is tax. Because I keep noticing people say, okay, the stamp is 78 cents, but you're paying tax on that. So 78 cents is going to be transferable because I pay 78 cents for a stamp, you pay 78 cents for a stamp, but tax rates will be different, right? In my case, the tax meant that 100 roll of stamps cost $80.75. So my actual cost per stamp is 81 cents, not 78. And if you add 3 cents here, 2 cents here, maybe a cent here, all of a sudden this number comes down, gets down to like 104, keeps going down. And that explains the difference, largely explains the difference between my cost of shipping and others that you might see. So I think that might be a bit of a trap that you may be falling into if you're just looking at, okay, I'm paying, again, using stamps. Oh, stamp 78 cents, I bought 100. My cost per unit is 78. Not really. The cents actually do matter. I mean, when you're talking about, there's a 21%, 21 cent spread here between the shipping revenue and the shipping cost. So those, and it's not a lot, but it is enough that can possibly, um, you may think that you can price your shipping a little bit more aggressively than you can, and you're going to end up losing money, which, maybe a couple cents per order isn't that big a deal. But it is a big deal when you're selling low value cards. Um, yeah, so that's why you may see my shipping costs are higher than what you may expect. I ran the numbers and I do think I've come up with a good explanation for why. It was a bit surprising, but after thinking about it, I think that is the ultimate reason is just those tax rates are going to be different for everyone. And I don't think most people are including them in their cost of shipping when just doing the back of the napkin calculation. Anyway, back to the spreadsheet. This is kind of an adjusted gross margin. All this gross margin means is the total of my revenue less the cost to produce that revenue. Um, this does not include my cost of inventory yet because I'm selling a personal collection. Um, but a true gross margin would also include the cost of the inventory in this number. Gross margin is an accounting term. What it means is the revenue that your business produces from its core activities less the expenses required to produce that revenue. Um, so it doesn't include any administrative costs, any office supplies that are not used in shipping or creating revenue. So another way to think about this is this gross margin is going to cover my LLC expenses. It is the money that's available to pay my taxes. It is the money available to maybe I want to upgrade my webcam or something like that for the videos. Um, Anything that is not involved in the buying and selling portion of the business. Um, and the way that this can be really useful is I can take this gross margin percentage, which is my total revenue, or excuse me, my gross margin divided by my total revenue. And this tells me that 61% of this sale went straight into my bank account. Okay. That means that ignoring the inventory portion, that if I bought this card for 50% of its value, um, complicated a little bit by shipping, that I would make 11% margin, and that'd be my end of day cash and bank profit margin. So this is giving me a sense of how much I can spend on cards and still make money. All right. Up here, I also have sums for each of these, and these are set up as subtotals so that as we go through and do some slicing and dicing, we can see these numbers update in real time. This is the big loss that I took, $2.74. I lost mainly because of the $5.40 in shipping charges. Here I used 29 penny sleeves, had the bubble mailer, I had to get a label, and I used 3 team bags. In hindsight, I think I should have used 4 just to balance out the envelope a little bit more, and that's another thing I learned from that experience. But just to go through these sales, this was a Bella Bolt. This was a Ral Crackling Wit, which was the subject of my last video, if you guys want to check that out. Here, I can't actually remember what this sale was. This was a Crag Flame token from Bloomborough I sold on Manapool. These were a couple of Droll and Lockbirds, and then a Bandit's Talent that I sold for 10 cents. The interesting thing I saw here was for a 10-cent sale, I lost 2 cents, which isn't really bad. I was expecting worse. So that's telling me that maybe a price floor, once I get to that point of 15 cents, should be close to ensuring profitability on an individual card. But we will see. And obviously, if they had bought 2 10-cent cards, this would have been more profitable. So really, so far, the only losers have been the big 29 card sale and just this last Bandit's Talent sale on TCG Player. Um, Otherwise, I've been pretty happy. Again, it's a total net of 1263 for the month. Um, and if I this doesn't really have a lot of data yet, but I can come in here and just look at magic. It's okay. Well, my margin of magic was 63%. Margin on Pokemon was 6%. Yu-Gi-Oh! 46%. And I only have one sale on Mana Pool, so it's not that useful yet to look at these sales by source, but I can do that if I want to. I intend to keep building this sheet out to track, because I want, especially when I'm starting, I want a better understanding of the relationship between the my costs and the fees over here and the prices that I'm charging, both the price for the cards themselves and the shipping revenue. Um, because right now, when I'm starting, is the best time to look at this on a really granular level. I don't have hundreds of thousands of sales that I can consolidate. I do have the opportunity to look at this on a very detailed and transactional level to understand exactly what is happening and ideally make adjustments going forward, like I will with if I get another 29 card sale. I'll approach it differently this time and hopefully turn that gross margin into a positive. Um, yeah, seeing these numbers gives me data to work with. It's not somebody else's experience, it's actually my own data. And again, if you guys want me to build one of these sheets for you guys, please feel free to reach out. Um, Links are in the description. So yeah, these are the results for first 2 weeks. I'm not that uh, upset about it. 34 cards, not too bad. Again, that's both higher and lower than I expected, so it's probably about right. Yeah, that is the first couple of weeks on selling cards. So for the goals for my business, I want to get to TCG player level 4 because that does open up a lot more options for me. Um, the process is going to be just keeping my inventory at the maximum. I hit level 2 last night. So I have an extra 400 inventory slots that I intend to fill up over the next couple of days to get those listings in. Because that's really all I can do at this point is just keep the inventory there. The wider variety of cards I have available, the more likely it is that somebody's going to want one, or I can have another case of the card optimizer working for me, or if I have a variety of cards, maybe the optimal choice for someone to make is just to buy most of them for me and keep moving those cards out that way. Yeah, so that's going to be the big thing for the business. And then I want to make a bulk purchase using only funds from within the LLC. It's really easy just to take money and say, oh, I'm just going to buy this collection with my own personal account and sell them at a loss. And oh, I have a business. Not really. If there's going to be a real business, it needs to be self-contained. It needs to be self-sustaining. I need to be able to take the money from the sales and put them into buying inventory. Um, so far, I've only had my personal collection. I bought a few sealed products the Monday after uh, the period covered in this update, so that will be covered in the week 3 update. Just kind of get that started out and get some movement to get to level 4. But the ultimate goal is to make that first purchase with funds only from the business and turn into an actual self-sustaining model. And that is it for the week 1 and 2 update. I have links in the description for my inventory cost spreadsheet that I'll be showing you guys in the July month end recap. My website is woodenbookkeeping.com if you have any bookkeeping or tax needs, if you want a CPA who has limited experience working in the TCG space to go over what you guys are doing right now. If you have any questions about how to get set up, feel free to reach out for a consultation. Again, links are in the description. And you can also reach me at chris@woodenbookkeeping.com if you want to reach out directly to me. Yeah, that is it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.